Hey guys, so today I wanted to make a video to show you how to change the charging port in the iPhone 5S. So first of all, before we get started, I wanted to show you some of the tools that we're going to be using during this process. Now if there's any tools that we will be using later on, I'll introduce them later on in the video. So first of all, we're going to be using this screwdriver. It's a Torx, or pentalobe it's called. If you want to get one, it's size 0, as you can see there, and it's the standard one for removing the screws on the bottom here. So what we will use that for, this is the only thing we'll be using this screwdriver for, is we'll need to remove these two screws on the bottom. And so also we're going to be using a Phillips screwdriver. It's size 000. Just wanted to show you, it's just a little Phillips. And we'll also be using a tweezers for this. You don't need one necessarily, but I like to use one. Also, I like to use a plastic pry tool, which I'll be using later in the video. Now there's another handy little tool that I like to use. It is a suction cup opening tool for the LCD screen, and I'll show you how this works. Any of these tools that I'll be using during this process, I'll include links in the video description where you can find them easily enough. And any parts that I'm going to be using also during this repair, I'll include links for that as well, so it's easy for you to find. First of all, it comes with this part right here. This is the handiest little tool ever. If you don't have one, I would highly recommend getting one, because you can either, for opening the screen, you can either use a single suction cup, which a lot of people do, and you can put it on here and you can try to loosen the screws and then pry it apart. But just from experience, this thing works a lot easier, and it's only like $8 or $9 I got this tool for. So I'll be showing you how to use this tool as well. So we'll just go ahead and set it up. You just turn it sideways like this. Now I wanted to show you, so you can set your phone in just like this. Now you'll have to go ahead and remove the two screws on the bottom first with this thing here. I already removed them, but for the sake of time, but I wanted to show you. So you'll need the Torx pentalobe screwdriver for that. And now they recommend setting this all the way down in the bottom here for support, but I like to keep this as close to the home button as possible, this suction cup. So all you need to do is just press down so they get a good suction on both sides, like this, and then you just pull up. And then if your screen hasn't been opened, what I would recommend is using something like the tweezers or something. If you get right under this corner right here, there's a little bit of a opening right there, and then it just pops up just like that. So if you can see that, there's a little bit of a notch right here in the screen. That's where you want to go. And then, so that came apart really easy, and then you can either pull these tabs here and then just pop one off, and then just pull that and pop that off. So next what we will be doing is opening up the screen, and right here, be careful when you pry this open. You don't want to go too far, because there's the ribbon cable here for the Touch ID sensor home button. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to just lay this sideways to expose this connector right here. And then you can just pry up on this connector on one side and it pops right off. And then you're going to want to pry underneath this. It's a little connector right there. It just pops off, and then you can lift the screen up just like this. Now without lifting the screen too high, you can tip it almost straight, but what we're going to need to do is remove these 4 screws right here in this cover. And you'll need to keep track of these so you keep them in the right order when you take them off. The top 2 are not magnetic. If you have a magnetic tip screwdriver, you can tell that way. The bottom 2 are, but either way, I would recommend just keeping those in order when you take them off. So next you can just grab this connector and pull it right out of here. And then I will need something like this plastic pry tool. Go ahead and disconnect these connectors right here. There's 3 of them. And then they come off just like that. You can see there's 3 of them right there. So next what you will want to do is remove these 2 screws on this connector right here. Next we'll go ahead and just pull this connector off. Speaker assembly. You can go ahead and remove this screw right here and this screw right here. And then next we're going to want to remove this antenna wire right here and get it out of the way. And next you can just pry up on this speaker. Don't pry up too far, but you can pry up that far. And then what we need to do is kind of slide it this way and out at the same time. So let's go ahead and slide it this way first a little bit, and then we can pull it out like this. See what happens, there's a tab here and a tab here that we'll need to watch. Next, to remove the charging port and the headphone jack and the microphone, everything, it's all one part. Just go ahead and remove the rest of these screws. There's 2 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So go ahead and remove those 4 screws. Next, what we will need to do is go ahead and remove this connector right here. And then you can just carefully pull up on this connector. It has an adhesive under it. You can just peel it down. And then we can go ahead and just peel this up all the way till we get to this point. And then I would say just carefully work under there with whatever you have. You can pry this out a little bit, that way it can pop up. And then just keep working your way over till you get over to the headphone jack, and then the whole thing comes out just like that. So you'll want to check when you get your new part if there's anything that you need to swap over. I know, like the rubber for this microphone, you'll need to swap over, and you can just pull this out, and it has little adhesive under it. You can just pull it out and swap it over to your new part. And then if you need to swap anything on top of this headphone jack, you just peel it off. It has adhesive under it. If your part already has it and looks like that, then you'll be just fine. So those are the things that you need to swap over. So to put it back in, all you need to do is go ahead and set this down, and I would say start with this charging port first. Make sure that you get that lined up in there square, and then you can go ahead and put this screw back in right here. So next we'll go ahead and line up the headphone jack here. Just kind of make so things sit in there properly. So we can go ahead and then reattach the microphone rubber here. You just have to make sure that it slides on there correctly. And then as long as everything is sitting down here good, we can go ahead and put this screw in, this screw in, and this screw in. Next we'll go ahead and stick this part down here, and we'll reconnect the connector right here. Reconnect that connector, and then you can just go ahead and push all this down, make sure it's sticking down really well. And then we'll want to reconnect this antenna wire. Now that that's connected, we can go ahead and reinstall the speakers. Now what you're going to want to do is this little tip right here, we're going to want to put this in here first underneath the spot for the home button connector. And then we need to get this part here tucked in there and push all the way that way. Then we can go ahead and set that down. And then we can put this screw back in, and put that last screw back in there. I'm going to reinstall this connector on top of the battery right here and put those 2 screws back in. To reinstall the front screen, what we need to do is grab your screen and go ahead and set it here and start connecting things. So you want to connect that one, and go ahead and connect the next one right there, and go ahead and connect the front camera. So next you're going to want to grab your connector right here, your plate, connector plate, and set it on there, and then you can go ahead and put all your screws back in the right order. What you want to do for now is just lay this down gently, and then we need to connect this cable right here. So if you have something that you can get it started with, then you see you got some slack there. And then we're going to have to go ahead and put this connector back in. It has a prong on the one side that goes towards the bottom of the phone. You'll have to hook it over on this side, there's holes, and then you'll have to pop this part in right here. Then we can go ahead and just take the screen, tip it up as much as you can. You don't want to tip it too far because of this flex cable here. And then get this front started in. First, it has little tabs that kind of have to go down and in. Then you can just set it down and just start popping it in all the way around. Once you have that, go ahead and put your 2 screws back in the bottom. Now it's all back together. Thanks for watching.